Right, okay, yeah, when you're ready.
Perfect. So welcome everyone to this meeting of the Harpenden Town Council Planning Committee taking place on Tuesday, the 2nd of November in the council chamber. I start with apologies for absence.
Yes, we've received one apology from Councillor Pitt-Liver, who is away on a family engagement.
Are we happy to accept that apology? All in favour? Perfect. Do members have any declarations of interest? Councillor Farmer.
Yes, I've got a personal pecuniary interest in respect of application 5/2021 2863 at 50 Alzey Gardens, since it's a house very close by myself. I just won't take any part in the debate. I don't think I'll come out of it because I think if I shut myself down, I might never get back in again.
Okay, fair enough.
Thank you, Councillor Farmer. Any other declarations of interest? I can't see any. If you realise you have any during the meeting, do just wave at me and I will come to you. Okay, item 3, minutes of the meeting of the Planning Committee held on the 12th of October. Any comments on those? Are we happy to accept them as a true record? All in favour?
Okay.
Perfect. I think this is the point where I have to pick up a pen.
You do indeed, yeah. Do you have a pen?
No, I don't.
You do now.
Such a lovely colour. My initial application sign.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Year is it?
Years are ticking by very quickly.
Only broke 2019. That's...
Not you anymore.
a long time ago.
Right, brilliant. Thank you.
Don't have it. Back on there. Perfect. Item 4. Public questions in accordance with Standing Orders 22 and 23. Have we received any?
No, none of them received.
Perfect. Letters of objection. I'm aware that we've had a couple circulated by email.
We have. Yes, so subsequently received after this agenda was issued. So we've got one which is for 19A Park Avenue South and another one which is for Redcliffe on Salisbury Avenue. We will obviously come to at the relevant point in the meeting.
Perfect. In that case, we'll go on to the meat of the agenda, which is applications registered in the weeks ending the 8th, 15th and 22nd of October. Okay, so 5/2021, 2746, 2788 and 2775 don't meet the criteria required for consideration. On to 5/2021, 2711 at 14 to 1. Your observations on this one?
Okay. Right, okay, so we'll read the observations first, then we can move through the PowerPoint images. The property is on a good sized plot in an open layout street scene. The proposal is to add relatively modest extensions to the property, including a 2-storey extension within the existing footprint of the property, which is actually the yellow highlighted section on this particular drawing here. A good distance, and then with a 1-storey extension along the side, which is highlighted in red. A good distance between the neighbouring properties retained. Accommodation in the roof is added with the roof form changing from a gable end to hipped, where the roof height is not increasing. Ample parking provision, frontage with a garage retained, no tree works. So this image here that we can see just shows the plot, the site on the plot. Then we move on to the images here that show the yellow sections, which are the 2-storey extensions, and then the red section, which is a 1-storey extension. This drawing here shows the existing frontage of the property and then the proposed. And I believe that that is it, yes.
Perfect. Thank you, Heather. I can't see Councillor Farmer, so you let me know if she waves at any point.
Yeah, so just bear with me just a second. If you stop sharing screen.
While you do that, do any councillors have any comments on this one? Your screen. Councillor Farmer, any comments on this one?
No, no comments.
Okay, perfect. In that case, we might just go with the recommendation of no objection. All in favour? Okay, 5/2021/2669 doesn't meet the criteria, so on to 5/2021/2714 at 19A Park Avenue South. Your observations on this one?
Okay, so this proposal is to demolish the existing 7-bedroomed property, although they are modest size rooms, and replace with a modern 2-storey 4-bedded dwelling with accommodation in the roof. The footprint is changing from a more sprawling layout to a square footprint on the plot, thus creating space along the boundary to both sides. The side elevations are more imposing than existing, but are sited further away from the boundaries. Existing roof height is in line with the neighbouring properties, with the new roof height increasing by 4 metres. The road is in the Harpenden Conservation Area. Preliminary bat survey confirms that bats are roosting in the existing property, with the requirement that Natural England licence is obtained before works can be carried out. A licence can only be issued upon successful planning permission, with the relevant conditions dismissed by the LPA. One tree, which is a flowering cherry, is to be removed. Root and tree protection measures are proposed, although no detailed replacement trees are detailed. It's stated that a condition be placed on the commission that a detailed landscaping scheme be presented for approval. 4 parking spaces on the plot. I said consider no objections subject to no adverse impact on neighbouring properties, and a detailed landscaping scheme being presented for approval by the LPA to satisfy the requirement of the Harpen's neighbourhood plan, replacing lost trees with a 2:1 ratio. Policy ESD 2/14 of the Harpenden Neighbourhood Plan, and policy 69, 70, 74 and 85 of the district plan refers.
Am I right, Heather, in saying that the number is actually out? I think it was 2704, I think. I had to go onto the plan, I had to go onto a plan,
Yes, you're
plan.
correct. Yes, you're correct. Yeah, I'll make the amendment to that. This is for the reference number.
Yeah. Worth instructing.
Yeah. Okay, so the images that I've got here shows the existing 19A Park Avenue South. Moving on to showing the existing street scene and then the proposed street scene with a outlined in red, or the outline or the dotted line showing an outline of the existing property in terms of height and scale. So this is the existing elevations of the property, and then these are the proposed elevations of the new property. And then this here shows a footprint stroke through block plan, which has got the red dotted line that outlines the footprint of the existing, overlaid with the new proposal. So I believe that's all that I've got in terms of images. And then if I can draw your attention to the letter of objection that has been received from the neighbour number 19 Park Avenue South, who is concerned actually about the fact that the house is now 5 metres nearer to the highway than the existing 19A, and the main part of the 19A is now at 9 metres from the footpath. 9 metres from the path edge is the building line of the 3 adjacent properties, 17, 19 and 19B. The 19A garage is at 9 metres from the pavement, also because of the road curve. The design is 2.6 metres taller than the adjacent properties, which I think I've picked out in my observations. And the 2 features to be taken together with the new house dominating the street is the off-street car parking. So as the drawings show 3 car parking spaces, but these spaces are smaller in size than the 2.5 metre by 4.9 metre needed for modern vehicles. Cars will not easily be able to exit forward from the new driveway, which is only 4.5 metres maximum from the pavement crossing. And then there's also an observation here that their extractor fans should be ducted to the roof and not directed towards the adjacent properties. This new build will have a heat pump or air conditioner. Pumps and compressors should be inside the house and the plant room, not air sourced outside. So that's the neighbours' comments.
Thank you, Heather. Anyone want to, Councillor Drake?
Yes, has there been any work done on the noise of the air pump or the air conditioner, which is to be situated outside?
there's no details of that. There's no specific noise mitigating measures detailed.
We know there has been an issue with other properties in a similar area to this one. So that obviously is a concern. The second concern that I would have is the height. It does look quite significant against the other properties on the street as far as I can see. And the third item was that they have failed to submit the replacement detail for the cherry tree, which is to be removed. And in the past, this committee has said that that is an incomplete application, and on the basis of that should be refused.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Turnbull.
Thanks, Chair. My views are much the same. I think that I just feel it's a bit too dominant, particularly the height. There's a big mass there. So that's point one, point two. The parking at the front. Yeah, it looks tight to say the least. It's, I think it's in theory it might fit, but I question in practical terms whether it's really 3 places. And that's for the heat pump, or heat pumps, whether it's 1 or 2, and who knows. I think they're going to be an awful lot more specific on heat pumps before we let heat pumps through. Very much more, but with that.
Thank you, Councillor Turnbull. Any other commentary?
Councillor Farmer.
Councillor Farmer.
Yes, I was actually going to make the same comments more or less. Firstly, that I think it does look, particularly because of the roof height, it looks a bit of an overdevelopment for the plot and within the street scene, and concerned that looking at the drawings, it is going much closer to the boundaries with adjacent properties, and therefore I think the issue of noise from either heat pump or air conditioning I think is a very real issue, and that I don't think it should have planning permission, or we should refuse until we've got that information.
Thank you, Councillor Farmer. Any other comments from councillors? Councillor Paul.
You deal about one.
Yes.
You
To
object
the street scene.
to the 19 Park Avenue South. Is that the left or the right?
That'll be left, I think.
On the left. Look at the height. In a way, the original reflected this is a dominant, isn't it? It's new one.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's wrong because of that, but it's a spill where others have got their own individual.
Yeah. I actually think when you look at that, it possibly because of the slope of the road isn't as bad as it looks on the plan. But I think we can only go with documents they put in front of us, and who knows what angle that Mr. Google was at when he took that picture. So I think that the message I'm getting from the committee is that we're minded to refuse on the basis of overdevelopment, effect on the street scene, potential noise, amenity, parking, and the lack of replacement trees. I think it's quite a comprehensive list of objections.
Few reasons there, aren't there?
Yeah. Anything else anyone thinks that I've missed that we should raise?
Can I just ask the question? How many it's going to happen? How many bedrooms? I forget now.
4, I think.
Only 4. Okay. So how many parking spaces must it have? 3.
Yeah.
So in theory, it meets that. It just they don't look practical spaces.
Yeah. We can have another look at those. I mean, I couldn't actually work out what the third one is.
There's
Two on that.
here. Yeah, there's 2 to the left, and then there's another one that's just here.
I mean, those 2 on the left look very, very tight.
And how are you going to get your car into them? If the one on the right is occupied, then the only way to get the car into these, if you're going to come out forwards, is to go in reverse.
Yeah.
And to put it bluntly, that's easier said than done. Practically, quickly.
But also, if someone's already parked in spaces, we say from the left 1 and 3, then you can't get into or out of number 2.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I think on the parking, if we can say something along the lines
I've
of
put inadequately spaced for, I suppose we can say for safe manoeuvring, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah.
Practical. Yeah.
Because they sort of encourage you to be able to have a vehicle exiting in the forward gear, is the terminology that they.
Councillor Paul.
Yeah, the car spaces should be
Yeah.
4.8 and 2.4 is 1 metre off long, isn't it? It's 4
In terms of the size of the spaces.
4 into 4. Yeah, it's not relevant, this is very so close.
Right, I think that was.
I think I've picked it up.
Sorry, did you find it? Did you find any air conditioning or heat pumps on the drawings?
I can't say that it was something that certainly came as a bit of a surprise to me. It was something that I noticed that I wasn't going to.
He says it will have.
I couldn't see them on the plans.
No, and it's
He's assuming, I suspect.
potentially, I can't say, let me just be 100% sure, but I don't believe that there was anything that stated that there was going to be anything like that. You know, I did read this in sort of quite strong detail, and normally you see them. You see them in the elevation being positioned.
Describe it, sorry, why aren't.
So, yeah, I mean, there's an awful lot of kind of trees and ecological and bat surveys and things, but I can't say I actually noticed.
I mean, any air transfer box on the side of that isn't it?
Yeah.
Let me just be 100%
On the
sure.
rear, it'll probably be okay.
Yeah.
I mean, these the elevational drawings here, and I can't see the telltale box that you normally get to see when it's either an extract, you know, some air compressor or an air conditioning unit or anything like that. So
Not unless they've cleverly disguised the window.
That is brilliant, though, won't probably.
no, it's not something that leapt out to me.
Yeah.
I can go through it with you know, a very careful fine-tooth comb, but it wasn't something that I noticed as being included in a mention, to be honest. But I will double check, because I don't want to feel that it's something that we have missed if it's written in a sort of one line.
So I think what we'll do with that one is if we, I mean, it's slightly hedging, but if we vote that the noise amenity thing is in, unless it's not in effect. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes, I think that's right.
Because I don't think we have time now to
No,
go through
exactly.
all
I
of
mean,
the tables.
it's not something that I noticed when I was going through it. You know, I read the back survey and.
Can't refuse on the ground, so can't see, I agree.
I mean, I would be fairly comfortable feeling that I would see it on any of the elevational drawings. It's normally quite a box of some sort, but I'll double check.
Right, so with that proviso, assuming that if it gets taken out because it's not in there, it gets taken out because it's not in there, are we happy with the recommendation of refusal for those reasons? All in favour?
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. So on to 5/2021 2791 23 Bowles Way.
Okay, so this proposal is to essentially change the garage into a habitable accommodation, a small infill extension to the front at first floor level to create a bathroom, and a small extension to the existing rear element at ground floor and first floor level to expand the ground floor living space, and also to extend an existing bedroom at the first floor level. No increase in number. The property is a large semi-detached dwelling with number 21 Bowles Way and built up to the boundary. Let me just show you. Describing that. So built up to the boundary, but with a public footpath between this and number 25 Bowles Way, which is a new build and extends a long distance down their plot, therefore reducing any impact on them from the proposed extensions proposed at number 23 Bowles Way. The extensions are relatively modest in relation to the original size of the property and in keeping with the host dwelling and the surrounding area. Ample parking provision to the frontage with a sweep and carriage driveway. No tree works. Property is locally listed in the conservation area. So I've said no objection, subject to the appropriate design and use of materials on this locally listed building in the conservation area. So yes, you can see here that it's quite a large semi-detached property, and then you can see detailed here the red blocks show the first floor extension to the front and the ground floor extension to the rear, with the pathway that goes up over the train line that runs down the side of the property. And this shows the existing and the proposed extensions. So you can see the small bathroom element at the front just here added, and then at the rear we've got the ground floor extension added here at the back. Well, actually first floor and ground floor. And that's it.
Thank you. Heather, any comments from councillors on this one?
There's a footpath.
Yes. So you can see here that this is the footpath that goes along here. It's sort of what's opposite Thompson's Close. If you come up Thompson's Close and you go up the footpath, it then takes you over the train line.
It's a very high fence and not, you're not seeing that.
Can't see over, can you?
No, so you can see here actually that there's the footpath essentially goes up the side of this landscaped
Okay.
garden.
Any other comments from councillors on this one? I
Nothing
can't
from
see any.
Rosemary.
In that case, we mind to go with the recommendation as set out. All in favour?
Okay, yeah, agrees.
Perfect. On to 5/20/21/2789 at 39 West Way. Observations on this one.
So the property is on the end of the road joining Crossway. The proposal looks to demolish the rear conservatory and replace the existing garage and the utility room to the side and build over to create an additional bedroom with ensuite and a dressing room, which totals 5 bedrooms on the site. 1 off-street parking space in addition to the single garage provided, therefore insufficient parking for the 5-bedroom house. The area is part of the Hartlepool Conservation Area, also Hartlepool Control Parking Zone, in fact, and there are no tree works. So also consider expressed concern. Whilst the committee have no objection to proposed changes to the property, they do, however, express concern over the insufficient parking provision for the proposed number of bedrooms in this location. Policies 40 and 72 of the district planning affairs. Here you can see that there's a very modest frontage to the property, which also is sort of shown just in this image here. There's a single garage and 1 small parking space to the front. This probably doesn't actually. Tricky to see. Yeah, it's quite tricky to see. Unfortunately, it's not the most bright drawing. So let me get the.
I can't even see it on your computer.
It's quite a pale. Unfortunately, it's quite a pale drawing that's been provided by the developer. There we go, for the purposes of you, Chair. Yeah, so you can see that there's the garage and the study at the rear of the property at the moment with a conservatory. And what they're looking to do is to demolish the conservatory at the rear and add on a 2-storey extension here, ultimately over the garage, and replacing the study to the rear, and then building in the loft space, which might be clear to see here that they'll be looking to put a dormer window across the back of the property.
Is the study what's helpfully described as the utility here?
Oh, sorry, that's probably where I was misreading it on the screen.
I couldn't. You were saying study. I was trying to work out where the study.
Yeah, so ultimately, it's a 2-storey extension to the side of this property with accommodation bedroom in the loft space.
Over where that garage is.
Yeah, so it's essentially replacing. They're knocking the garage down, I suppose, because the foundations aren't strong enough to support an extension. So they're replacing that, going up.
But there is still a garage on the new.
Still, the garage is still retained, but there's still only 1 parking space at the frontage.
Yeah. It looks a little bit like the garage is slightly shorter, but I can't say because I've got not zero to scale. Councillor Towell.
Yes, thanks, Chair. My concern is that if that's going to be a 2-storey extension at the side of the house, is that okay? Question mark?
I think that's what we're here for.
It's right, Nicol. I'm questioning whether, to me, it's right up against the pavement, more or less. It really is a pretty big chunk of building right next to the road and the pavement. Is it overdevelopment?
So
I must admit, I'm inclined to think it might be.
Yeah, my concern is that, and also if you look back on that last image, Helen.
Yeah.
You can see, it's already quite substantial, and the road, I think, slopes downwards.
That's the one here, isn't it?
So you're bringing a big amount of house quite close to the houses opposite.
Mm.
It's not necessarily an amenity impact, but it certainly feels like it's a overdevelopment, and it would have an impact on the street scene.
You're going to have, you think you're going to have, you know, it's this coming right out to whatever.
Yeah.
That's a big blob of masonry.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
Councillor Farmer would like to speak.
Councillor Farmer.
Yeah, well, yes, I agree that I think there's a question of whether it's an overdevelopment, but I'm also thinking of the parking issue. Looking at the garage, and I can only obviously looking at the picture on the screen, but thinking when I've walked down there, it's, I think, a fairly small garage. So I'm not sure whether some modern vehicles would even fit in it. But I mean, if you look at it, it's on the bend. It's both Westway and I've forgotten the name, Crossway coming down are fairly narrow roads. It's right on the corner, so you actually, a car would not be able to park on the, I don't think you could park immediately outside the house on either Westway or Crossway, because you're going to be right on the corner. So I would seriously question it, the parking.
Yeah. I think that's a very good comment, Rosemary. Any other comments from councillors on this one? Councillor Paul.
Sometimes you have to say, well, it's historic, it never had a certain space, what it is. So the fact that adding another bedroom also makes no difference now. Having said that, it's CPZ, isn't it?
It is.
Yes.
I think you can buy CP, you can buy a number of spaces. It doesn't have to be a number of spaces in the road.
Yes, you can buy up to a maximum of 3 parking permits per property.
Yeah, but they're not dedicated.
No, you don't buy a space, you buy the ability to park within
Yes.
that zone. But it could be a couple of roads away.
It's certainly parked up, isn't it?
Yes, but parking on Westway, to say the least of it, is tight.
Parking.
If anybody's ever tried driving up Westway, which I have.
And going one further, look at in front of the garage, they've got their bins there at the moment. So where are the bins?
I think it's bin day. This picture I think was taken on bin
There's
day.
not much space there to park a car in front of that garage. To me, it's
No.
academically it might be a parking place, but practically I question if it is.
I was just thinking that, Nigel.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what is the distance from the garage to the pavement, because is there enough room for it?
I think I did manage. Let me just see. I think I did notice actually on the Google.
I think the wording's all right. I think we need to get home development somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, my question is really whether we're expressing concern or recommending refusal.
Refusal.
Can I ask about the parking? Because, I mean, naturally, it looks like there's a lot of houses on there which don't have parking anyway. So is it really a concern that they're losing, like, surely the criteria doesn't apply to, does it apply to houses, to a street which doesn't have?
I know what you're saying. It's not the same street, is it?
Because if you mean, a lot of the houses on Westway don't even have driveways anyway. So I'm a bit more relaxed about parking perhaps, but maybe that's just.
My personal attitude has always been the fault of previous planners is not necessarily one that we should be replicating. But obviously I can't dictate what the committee chooses to do. So I think initially, unless you're about to share something
I
else.
was trying to find, but the shop is I can't. I've lost my bearings, unfortunately. I was hoping to try and be able to show you the.
You can't tell you about the objections, can you?
Can't say what's saying.
There's any objections?
There were when I last looked. No.
So I think based on what the conversation we've had, assuming we don't find anything on parking, I think the recommendation is refusal on the basis of overdevelopment and concerns about insufficient parking or something to that effect. We probably should also mention the effect on the street scene, because I think that's an important part of why it's an overdevelopment.
I can back up actually what you're saying here, that there was this picture here does actually show that there is a car parked just about on that frontage.
Oh, I see.
I was fairly sure
You
that I
can't
do.
do it lengthways, you have to do it sideways.
Yes, so
Yes.
it's pretty.
I was,
Oh, so that
yes,
edge is gone well, actually. Yeah.
That's
Yes.
interesting.
I was just going to observe, and perhaps Bert might put me right if I'm wrong here, but looking at it, it looks to me like to get the car on there, you have to, it looks potentially, so you have to drive over the curb.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure that highways would allow you to put a dropped curve
No.
in on that
wouldn't.
location with double yellow lines on a bend.
I think it's ambitious calling that one off-street parking space, but they do park on it, so I'll give them that.
So the garage might not be like might not be designed for vehicles. It might have been designed for tools.
It probably was designed for vehicles when it was the house was built, but how the
Badly
cars
done,
and
yeah.
goods really larger.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't think they were driving Land Rovers when, well, they might have been, but not modern ones anyway.
Okay.
So yeah, so I think, assuming the committee votes for it, I think the recommendation is refusal on the basis of overdevelopment, impact on the street scene, and concerns that there's insufficient parking provision. Are we all happy with that recommendation? All in favour? I think that's
Okay, yes.
unanimous. Cool. Okay, 5/2021, 2803 and 2816 don't meet the criteria required for consideration. 2826 57 Granby Avenue is the next one. Your comments on this one?
Okay, so 57 Granby Avenue. Proposal is to convert the existing dormer-style bungalow into a two-storey dwelling by raising of the roof and extending the footprint at ground floor and first floor level. Road is on a slope in the direction of number 59 Granby Avenue, which essentially is to the right. Large flank walls to the sides with both neighbours are being introduced. Number 55A Granby Avenue is a two-storey dwelling which extends further back than proposed. And number 59 is a dormer-style bungalow with a window overlooking the side of the application property. The proposed extensions extend some distance further back than this property. So as in further back than number 59. 3 new windows face number 59 Granby Avenue, one of which is to a bedroom. The number of bedrooms is not increasing but expanding in size to a total of 4. Appears to be parking provision for 2 cars on the frontage. However, this is insufficient for the number of bedrooms. No tree works are planned. Consider, recommend refusal. The proposed extensions appear to present an over-dominant effect on number 59 Granby Avenue, leading to an unacceptable loss of amenity to the property and possible incursion on privacy from proposed windows in the side elevation. The proposal does not provide sufficient off-street parking provision for the number of bedrooms proposed. Policies 40, 69 and 72 of the district plan and ESD 2 of the Harpenden Neighbourhood Plan refers. So this here shows the house marked with an X is the property that's in question. So you can see that it's in a sense mirroring the size of 55A, but it's still quite a dominant look on number 59. Granby Avenue. So here you can see to the left is the existing property, and then to the right is the proposed of the front and the rear. And then this here shows the existing to the left of the side elevations, and then the proposed to the right, which, yeah, is quite a significant difference, as you can see. And then this here shows the footprint. So the property to the left, I feel less concerned about because it pretty much is sort of mirrors the length along the boundary line and sort of height. But my concern really relates to number 59 that you can see is quite a significantly smaller effect on the window, that particular property, and also the loss of amenity from flank walls.
Do you go back to image 16? So Is this one house that I'm looking at, or is that one on the left gotten bigger?
It's got bigger.
So the house on the left, which is that 55? I know. I
It's
live on there.
55A.
55A, yeah. So that's been developed in the last year. It's literally just finished. And you can see that on the drawings on slide 27.
Yeah.
You can see that's now so it's gone from being a bungalow to now being a full house.
That was what confused me.
Yeah. So I
Went from 16 to 17, thinking that's grown quite a lot. So basically, it's what's essentially happening is they're going down the street and getting bigger.
Going up.
Yeah, on the other hand, its bulk, particularly at the first floor and above, is much bigger than the one that the 50, is it 55A that's just been developed?
Yeah, 55A.
Yeah.
So Councillor Farmer, you wanted to speak?
Well, I probably actually was just going to make the same points I've been discussing, point out that the house, what is now being described as a house on the left, again, I mean, there were the three bungalows there were all originally three bungalows. So the one on the left, which is Councillor Hill has just observed, they've just finished doing an extension on, but it's, the drawings, it's a slight, because of the angle, it is not so obtrusive on the street scene as the proposal we're looking at, which is much more dominant.
Yeah. Councillor Hill.
Yes. So I know the street quite well because I think the next street up, so we'll walk past it quite often top.
Yes, I know it well as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you can see on the street scene that this one is quite a bit bigger than the one at 55A. The 55A has actually been done quite nicely.
Yes.
You still got that sort of, it's got parking as well, it's still got front garage and things. My concern with this one is, like you said in the report, there's loads of windows on the right hand side as you're looking at it, onto the bungalow at 59, yeah. And as you say, it slopes down, so the focus of it is even more. If it sloped up the other way, it wouldn't be such a problem. So I agree with the recommendation here.
Any other comments from council? I can't see any. In which case, we might go with the recommendations set out. All in favour? Perfect.
Yes, okay, agreed.
5/2021 2863 at number 50 Artsay Gardens. Now I believe this is the one where Councillor Farmer has an interest.
Correct. So
I'm
Councillor
just going
Farmer.
to sit this one out.
Okay, fine. Okay, so 50 Artsay Gardens. This proposal essentially mirrors that which was considered by the committee in August 2021, but with the detailing of 2 windows on the first floor level to be obscure glazed. The proposal is for a new single-storey side extension along the length of the dwelling and incorporates a sloping roof with roof lights interspersed along the roof line. Although it extends close to the boundary, proposals have been included with regards to the maintenance of the property and to also ensure that it does not have a detrimental impact on the neighbouring property. The 2-storey rear extension is shown as being 2.5 metres in depth, extending across the width of the property and will increase the sizes of bedrooms 3 and 4. Although it will lie further rearwards than neighbouring property number 51 Artsay Gardens, due to the distance between these properties, there does not appear to be any detrimental impact on this property nor the dwelling house at the rear. Parking is sufficient with 3 car parking spaces provided and no change to bedroom accommodation. No trees will be affected by the proposal. So I've said consider no objection, provided that there is no loss of means to neighbouring properties. 72, policy 72 of the district plan refers. So I can just show you here. So the little yellow arrow depicts where the proposal is to take place. And this is the withdrawn application. I appreciate that this is probably not the clearest to be able to actually see. This is the withdrawn application, then this is the new application. And all that is differed, if I toggle between the two, is essentially the detailing here, this window on the side and this window on the opposite side are going to be obscure glazed. I did observe that actually the previous withdrawn application that there were comments from a neighbour expressing concerns over overlooking, which I think is potentially what they're trying to address within this particular application, is by showing that those particular windows are going to be obscure glazed.
Interesting on the windows, interest in real obscure glazing. I was swearing that obscure glazing, bathrooms, they're probably bedrooms, aren't they? And you can't do that.
I'll double check. I have the drawings in firstly here.
Having the rooms, you don't know what obscure.
No, you wouldn't. I mean,
So there's the objection letter.
I mean, if there were 50 bathroom, then why wouldn't it obscure glazed in the first place? And if it's a bedroom, no, you wouldn't expect obscure glazed.
Is there anything stopping an obscure place in your bedroom?
You don't see that.
It's actually a study and an ensuite.
Oh, well, suites all that. Studies, is that a habitable room? No.
It's a study, it's got light in it. I mean, a lot of people work in, quite frankly, rooms with no
It will
windows.
still be, used, yeah.
So if it's got obscure glazing,
It's larger ones.
in some of the studies I've seen,
More to the point, we're not living in it, we just have to judge its planning merits.
so I think that obscure glazing would be fine for that.
Perfect. In that case, any other comments from councillors on this one? Are we minded to go with the recommendation with no objections set out? All in favour?
Okay, thank you.
Right. 5/2021/2867 does not meet the criteria. On to 5/21. I'll speak today. 5/2021/2870 at 82 Park Rise. Your observations
I
on
think
this?
I've had a fair interest on this one. There's a reason. Because I'm contesting 84 or 86. It would be. There's a house on there, 82, 84, 86. It's on the agenda. But I'll call it 82 close to 84. So I'm still contesting.
Okay.
It's 82, isn't it?
This is for 82, yeah. So you're contesting for an application that's 84
On behalf of 86.
on, okay,
So I think I'm declaring.
okay.
Okay.
Okay, right, so.
Yes, sure.
Yes, so 82 Park Rise. The proposal is to make changes to the chalet bungalow style property by the addition of a single storey rear extension across the footprint of the existing conservatory and a further 3 metres to the side, the number 80, and a further 4.4 metres to the side with number 84 rearwards. An extension to the front porch and a change in the roof form to accommodate further roof bedroom space. The ridge height is increasing by 0.5 metre, also half a metre, with small hips to either side. Planning application for prior approval to number 84 for the addition of a first floor is currently under consideration, which if approved will reduce any impact from this proposal on them. Number 80's footprint extends further rearwards than this proposal. The front curb is to be extended and additional hard stand added to accommodate an extra car, which will total 3. Locally works are proposed. I've said consider no objection, providing no limited community on neighbouring properties. Okay, so you can see here, this is the floor plans. So we've got the existing floor plan, which is just here, which essentially depicts the conservatory at the rear of the property, which is going to be demolished and then replaced with an open plan ground floor living space. And then you can see just here at the front is a small addition to the porch as well. And then at the first floor level, you can see that at the moment we've got sort of a bit of a crown roof going on, which is going to be changed to accommodate much more living accommodation in the roof, which you can see shown here in the elevations. So the roof form is changing to being a hipped roof form with some dormer windows at the rear of the property. This here shows the existing street scene and the proposed street scene from the front of the property. So you can see here that the property to the left is sort of essentially a much similar style design to what is being proposed. And then they've got the sort of the chalet bungalow here at the moment. And then mirroring that. And then the property to the right, you can see is slightly outlined in red. You probably can't see it very clearly on here actually, but outlined in red is the footprint of the proposal that is currently under consideration by the LPA, that if it is granted, will obviously significantly reduce any possible impact from this particular proposal here. And then here you can see a street scene, or say a block plan of the site, which depicts the 3 parking spaces to the frontage and the roof form, the change in the roof form and the footprint of the property. I think that's it, yeah.
Maybe quickly look at the side elevations again.
I don't think I've done side elevations.
I saw one there. My concern, sorry, am I allowed to comment?
Yes, go on.
My concern was the side elevations. They looked awfully big. That was my quick comment. You know, side elevations with next door question mark.
Yeah. And they're basically extending the existing dormer out and increasing the roof line. So, yeah, I think there's an argument that this is a bit much. I think if the next door one was to go through tomorrow, that argument would be eliminated. But obviously, we can't speak for the local planning authority. Any other comments from councillors on this one? Councillor Hall, you've declared an interest. Councillor Hill.
Just about what you were saying about the concern about the size of the development. On this street view, maybe I just wondered about about the other sizes of the properties. Maybe that could tell you, maybe not. Just about whether it is, because it's becoming bigger, but roughly the same size as the other houses in the street. That's a concern.
Yeah. So can we go back to the street?
Yeah. So I mean, looking at this here, it's the property to the left is going to match the footprint essentially of that. The property to the right currently is significantly smaller than what is being proposed here. However, if that planning, this is what sort of essentially we're talking about, is if the planning permission goes through for that property, is going to be essentially very similar design. Yeah. But you're right, we have to base things on
what it is currently.
Yeah, it's not as if that we've got a planning permission has been granted and potentially is going to happen. We're still waiting for determination on that.
It's a bit like we had those pair of ones come in. You get one and the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't extend further back than the one to the left, which is already.
No.
So that's a key thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's yeah.
It's all right. That it's the door's just gone next door.
Someone's broken in. That's pretty much on planning application. Okay. So any other comments from councillors on this one? I think probably we need to point out the size, but I don't know whether it merits an express concern or whether it's a no objection subject to no loss of amenity, which is sort of what we've got already. I'll take a vote on no objection first, and then I'll move towards a harder recommendation if I don't have a majority. All in favour of no objection on this one?
Two.
All,
Councillor Farmer hasn't voted, so
all in favour of express concern?
okay. Councillor Farmer.
Yep. Yes, I'm voting for no express concern.
My cast. I think, given the fact that they haven't got planning permission yet for the one next door, I mind it towards express concern.
Okay.
On the basis of potential impact on loss of amenities for neighbouring property. Okay. We need.
Yes, no, it's fine.
That's all covered, yes.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. I was just making sure I picked up the right number house. That's right. Okay.
Right, 5/2021/2819 does not meet the criteria, neither does 2833, nor 2838, which confused me for a moment. On to 5/2021, 2854 at 16:14.
Okay, so we've actually considered a number of applications on this site before. So this application is a resubmission of the previously approved scheme 5/20/2035. Very little has changed in terms of the size of the property, proposed layout and the elevations. This proposal seeks to make changes to the size of the windows, balustrade material, the addition of solar panels across the side roof elevation, changes to the build materials and the addition of an air source heat pump to the rear. There is a loss of 1 parking space from the approved scheme to 2 in total for a 4-bedroom house. A noise assessment report has not been submitted detailing how sound will be kept to an acceptable level from the proposed heat pump in this residential area. So I've said consider recommend refusal due to no details provided on the proposed mitigating factors to keep the noise levels from the proposed air source heat pump to acceptable level, leading to a possible detrimental impact on the street scene and neighbouring properties. The committee also notes that parking provision has reduced further to just 2 parking spaces on the plot, which is insufficient. Policies 40, 69, 72 of the district plan refers, and ESD 2 of the Hartmanton neighbourhood plan refers. Okay, so I can sort of briefly show you, ultimately really this is the previously approved scheme, and this is the previously approved scheme. Moving on here, this is the new proposal, which pretty much in a sense mirrors what the previously approved proposal was, but we've now got some changes to the materials at the back of the property, and then we have the addition. These are like the artist impressions of what's being proposed, and then you can see here on the proposed rear elevation image quite a substantial sticking out in the middle of nowhere air source heat pump just here with no boxing or anything at all.
Yeah. Comments from councillors on this one? I can't see any.
I'm only going to make the comment. I was trying to remember this previous application, because if you actually look at the front of the house, you go to 36 there. I'm surprised actually that we were really happy with how open.
I don't think we were.
We weren't.
District overall, yeah.
Right. I was going to say, because I looked at this and I thought, I don't really want to see people in their dressing gowns going up and down the stairs, really. We usually look at it the other way, but that hasn't changed. I think there's sufficient reasons here in actual fact for us to stick to recommending refusal, in particular the introduction of the air pump.
Yeah. Councillor Turnbull, do you want to say something?
I concur. We rejected this the last time round, also at the back. I think the structure at the back is really, to me, I'm amazed that got through, but if that's the case, so be it. But I still think there's enough evidence here to say these amendments are turned down.
Yes. Councillor Paul.
Just the wording, actually. I mean, if you read it, it sounds like the air source heat pump is actually in the street scene. It's around the back, isn't it? Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's in the read a little bit.
Yeah, I think if we remove that
Yes.
language about detrimental
Impact on the neighbouring properties.
Yeah. Because
Okay, yeah, no,
It's,
that's fine.
I think the development would have a detrimental impact on the street scene, but we're not debating that bit of it today.
We're not. It's totally out of keeping with the street scene. I mean, it doesn't fit with it at all. But there we go. Nothing we can do about it.
Yeah. Any further comments from councillors on this one? I can't see any. In that case, we minded with the recommendation with that little tweak about the language. All in favour?
Okay, great.
Perfect. So 5/20/21/2757 at the Tesco Express on Lower Luton Road.
Okay, I haven't actually done some images for this because it was pretty hard to do them, really. So this application essentially mirrors the previous application, apart from the modular building has been reduced in size to move the structure further away from the boundary flood wall and outside the flood zone, and by addressing concerns expressed by the Environment Agency from the previous application, all of which are detailed in the new flood risk assessment report submitted with the application. So I've said no objections, subject to satisfactorily addressing the reasons for the refusal of the previous application and conforming with policy ESD 18, which relates to flood risk of the Hartlepool Neighbourhood Plan, and policy 84 of the district neighbourhood plan.
Thank you. Heather, any comments on this one? Councillor Hill.
Yeah, I agree with the recommendation. I think that the concern about flooding actually there is quite an important one, because you know, it's that river can get quite high, and that the Tesco is really close to the river there. You know, it's why, you know, Bathurst Springs that quite often floods, which is why we're doing the boardwalk thing. I think it's key that we got the caveat of satisfactory addressing refusals for the reasons for refusal last time. But yeah, if that's done, then I can't see anything to problem with it.
Thank you, Councillor Hill. Any further comments on this one from councillors?
Happy.
I can't see it. In that case, we minded to go with the recommendation set out. All in favour?
Yes, Councillor Farmer, agree.
Perfect. 5/2021/2864 does not meet the criteria required for consideration. So on to 5/2021/2879 at 34 Summer Lane.
Right. So this is actually an application that this committee looked at not long ago, which is for the day nursery on Sun Lane. So this proposal presents a reduced scheme for the refused application in terms of the number of child capacity reducing from 58 to 49, and the reduction in length of proposed outbuilding located along the boundary with number 36 Sun Lane by 5 metres. The height of 2.5 metres and depth of 5 metres remain the same. Despite the reduction in numbers, the vehicular movements to the nursery will still be more than currently cited in the conservation area. So I've said consider recommend refusal. The committee do not believe sufficient changes have been made to satisfy their concerns over the possible loss of amenity to number 36 Sun Lane from proposed new outbuilding and the projected increase in vehicle movements to the site from the proposed increase in child intake capacity. Policies 34 and 72 of the district plan affairs. I haven't got any pictures for this one, no, because I'm not quite sure. I don't think that they're lower down. No.
No, there weren't any pictures. I went up to walk past it. So I can see a picture of it.
It's yeah, because ultimately it's actually there's nothing to see just different from the front. It's just what's happening in the rear, which is that ultimately it's still remaining the same, just reducing in length.
And can I ask generally, day nurseries, etc., are there any licenses they have to have in addition to planning permission?
There probably is, yes, but that isn't something that's considered by a planning committee.
So is there anything from a planning point of view of having what is a commercial operation in a residential area?
No, because they've already got planning permission for that. Yeah, it's a long-standing planning permission. So they had a change of use many years ago, which was from dwelling house to daycare nursery, and that's been a long-standing change of use that's now.
But doesn't that fall by the wayside after 3 years? Or it was 5 years, and now 3 years?
No, because I think it's like the same as any change of use. Once you've actually got a change of use of something, then it remains a change of use. It has to happen. Yes, it has to have happened. The change of use has to have happened within 3 or 5 years. As long as that has happened, then.
So it's actually a nursery now, is it?
It is, oh, yes, yes.
Sorry,
Yes.
I was thinking it was a.
No, so it's
Sorry,
existing
sorry.
daycare nursing. What they're wanting to do is expand their numbers, and to achieve that, they're looking to put in a modular building, or essentially an outbuilding in the back garden along the length of
I
the
apologise, I thought it was a total change of use.
Councillor Farmer would like to speak.
Councillor Farmer.
Yes, I was going to say, I mean, the problem with this, and I don't know how long it's been a nursery, but it's been a nursery quite a while. But the fundamental issue is that it is within what was a residential dwelling that had change of use permission. And I understand they want to extend it. The problem is the only way they can extend it is into a garden in the middle of a residential area, when by definition it is going to cause a loss of amenity to the neighbours.
Yes.
And I certainly agree with the recommendation, because I don't see how you could put the structure in what is effectively a back garden without affecting the amenity of neighbours.
I agree.
Yeah, and I don't think the change they've made, so far as I can tell from the plans, is just to shorten the building. And I don't think that addresses the problem of
No, it doesn't, because it's a fundamental issue that they're putting a structure in the back in a garden surrounded by residential properties.
Yeah.
Have any of the number 36 objected?
No,
That's interesting.
no.
That's interesting, because I think they'd only voted on one side, I think.
But it's against the boundary on one
Yes,
side.
yeah, on one side. So, but my concern is certainly, I mean, past it will be any increase in traffic along what is a fairly narrow road. Of course, it's effectively the same road as St George's School, of course, so that probably mitigates that argument. This is a valuable amenity to the community, and it'd be good to have additional child capacity spaces, but I don't see, unfortunately, it's on the wrong site, it's on the wrong location.
Yeah, and I think it might be a different conversation if they pulled the development in from the boundary. But as it is, it's still the same proposal as last time, but slightly shrunk, but not shrunk in the way that
They've lost 9 kids, haven't they?
Yes.
Part of it. And poorly in a bit.
Yeah.
There's certainly no traffic problems up there. I fully cross that roundabout, twin roundabout, at least twice a day, if not more, going to Bradford. So it's not a problem on parking, but I suspect it's a nuisance value to the neighbours, isn't it?
It's amenity, so
Amenity.
noise and presumably if you can see the building over your fence.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay.
Right, any further comments on this one, or shall we move to a vote on the recommendation? Can't see any further comments. In that case, are we minded to go the recommendation as set out? All in favour?
Agreed.
Okay, 5/2021/2919 at 15 Salisbury Road. Any your observations on this one?
Yeah. Right, so 15 Salisbury Road. Proposal is to replace the existing rear ground floor structures with a flat roof extension with a lantern along the boundaries with the neighbouring properties. The extension extends marginally further than the neighbour's rear footprints, but the 45-degree angle has been taken into consideration. The proposed rear dormer is in keeping with the host property. The neighbouring properties appear to have done similar. No further bedrooms are to be added, just expanding the size of the loft room with the addition of an ensuite. Consider no objection, provided there is no loss of amenity to neighbouring properties. So you can see here from this image the existing cross section just here, and then what they're looking to do is to actually extend the essentially add a dormer window at the back of the property, and then replace the existing ground floor structures with a flat roof extension with a small crown. So I think you can see here the rear section, which shows the existing neighbours' sort of footprint and layout, which essentially is what this is going to mirror. Yeah, I think that's all that I've got that was sort of a worthwhile image to share.
Thank you. Are there any comments on?
Where's Salisbury Road?
It's just off of Lower Lytton Road. It's just up on the left-hand side, I believe. So you go,
Bedford.
yes, yeah. I think you go up
Yeah.
past the Malta,
Yeah, South.
and then it's at the top there.
Yes.
Really knows. It's not listed or conservation. is it?
No, it's not conservation.
I'll say no more.
Councillor Hill?
Well, I was going to ask if it was conservation area because, I mean, I think we've had concerns with Juliet balconies on conservation area, haven't we, before?
Yeah.
But let's see, it's not the conservation area, but that's where that's a problem.
I think, I mean, I personally can't see an objection if there's no loss of amenity. So we might just go with the recommendation.
Yep.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay, 5/2021 2935 does not meet the criteria. On to 5/2021 2869 at Hatching Green Lodge, Hatching Green Close.
Okay, so the property is a substantial, characterful, locally listed building in the conservation area sited on a large plot. Proposals are to make small single-storey additions to the property following the demolition of the existing conservatory, replacement of a modest door window to the side with a roof light, and changes to the gate and fence arrangement to the frontage and a small outbuilding, all of which appear to be in keeping and create no detrimental impact on the property. Visited no objections subject to the appropriate design and use of materials on this locally listed building in the conservation area. So you can see here that these pictures essentially set the scene. So it is quite a substantial property on quite a large plot, which got just this here that helps you to see the existing fence and gate arrangements. And that sort of kind of element. So this is the existing sort of rear of the property, which shows the conservatory at the bottom here that they're looking to demolish and replace with these sort of single-storey structure here, which will sit on the footprint of the conservatory, and then another small single-storey structure here. This one that you can see over here on the far right-hand side is the actual additional sort of kind of outhouse or outbuilding stroke garage store that's visible from the frontage. Here, it's going to essentially be sitting over in this location just here. And then this here shows the footprints of the property. So this is the current conservatory, which is due to be demolished. So they are looking to put a single-storey extension over the footprint of this, and then a long to fill in this gap here to sort of kind of square it off a little bit more. And then the front here, you can see that they're looking to put in some gates, which are offset from the highway. So there's space for a car to sit and wait whilst the gates actually open. These are the proposed gates and fencing.
Are we satisfied there aren't any trees put?
No, there's not near any trees at all.
It's like a leafy plot, so I just
It
thought I'd
is,
make
yeah.
sure.
The trees, you can see from this image here actually that there was an awful lot of trees, but they are not actually anywhere near the proposal at all. They're all being retained as they are.
Any comments on this one, councillors? I can't.
I suspect no parking problems on that drive.
Well, I think
No, I think to be honest, I think they satisfy the parking arrangements just solely by the fact that they have 3 garages and a substantial area here that's probably larger than our town council car park. So I think we probably.
I was going to say it looks large enough to host a car park.
I think you could probably get Joe Biden's motorcade.
I dare you put it in.
So, yeah. I don't think we have the old, issue of parking here.
I would hope not. That's the It's the hosting some kind of car music.
They're not actually adding any extra bedrooms anyway, so
Yeah, actually on Hashing Green.
it's just off Hatching Green Close. So as you enter off of Redbourne Lane,
Yeah.
it's immediately on your left hand side.
Is it?
Any further comments on this one? No, I can't see any. In that case, are we minded to go with the recommendation as set out? All in favour?
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. 5/2021 2822 at 33 Rockhampstead Avenue. Comments on this?
Okay, so the proposal is to remove the existing roof form and replace with a level roof standard 2-storey dwelling eaves height. The roof form will have hip sides with central forward projection. The footprint is not increasing as the proposed 2-storey additions are over the existing elements. The neighbouring property's ridge heights are higher than the existing property. The proposed additions do not appear to cause any detrimental impact to the neighbouring properties and are in keeping with the style of the existing property. Ample parking is retained on the site for a double garage and other off-street parking on the property. No tree works are proposed. Consider no objection provided that there is no loss of community to neighbouring properties. So you can see here on the image that we've got a very different style roof form and property to the other ones within Rockhampstead Avenue. This is what they are essentially looking to do. So they're looking to change the roof form to have this hipped. It's currently at the moment all accommodation, all first floor accommodation is in the roof.
Yeah.
So what they're looking to do is to actually to have a roof with standard first floor accommodation. And this image here shows that we've got the 2-storey elements here over existing ground floor elements, which is the sort of kind of the thicker hatching. And then there's a 1-storey extension just here at the frontage. So, I've gone a bit too far now.
Thank you, Heather. Any comments on this one from councillors?
Can't see a house for trees.
It's gone.
Your steward is behind.
Yeah, it wasn't. I just about managed to sneak that one there. So it's quite hard to see. But
Is there a gate going across?
there is,
sideways,
yes, there is.
sideways?
So if you go into the access here,
There
there is actually a double garage that sticks out the front.
Oh,
We can
oh,
see
this
sort of
way.
here,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
So you gain access off of the road and you sweep round to the left.
So you don't cross
Go
the
in.
door, don't you, to get into it?
That's it. Yeah.
To be honest, I look at the parking issues on the drive.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, based on the property next door is taller.
Yeah. And it's quite a mix of styles, Rockhampstead Avenue anyway.
Yeah.
I certainly don't think anyone wants to keep big with some of the stuff that's already there. Any further comments from councillors?
What's the word level roof mean?
So essentially this, so what we've got at the moment is this kind of, I don't know, I took the wording from what the architect had actually said. So I think at the moment we've got this
Yeah.
Inconsistent.
quite short, yeah, an inconsistent sort of style roof form.
So,
Whereas this is
no, that's,
more
so
conventional.
that's a level roof.
Yeah, they call this a
All
level
one
roof.
I suppose ridge is all one height, isn't it?
And they've retained the sort of triangle at the front, which is the
Yeah.
character,
Looks
keeps the character.
It's quite nice design, actually.
Yeah, very good.
It's the sort of size house that we see that people demolish and replace with a much larger dwelling, isn't it?
Let's not give any ideas.
Yeah, I think I know the architect. His writing.
Howard Pease.
Any further comments from councillors? No, in that case, are we happy to go with the recommendation as set out, all in favour?
Okay.
5/2021 2895 at Redcliffe 21 Salisbury Avenue. Your observations on this?
Yeah.
And all we've got.
Again,
That's the one just here at the end, because I was expecting.
Where are we on this one? Is it really your fifth application?
Okay, so
You agree with
here we go. So this is the fifth application. So this proposes the fifth application for the change of use of the site from a care home to residential. This proposal once again proposes 9 dwellings split across 2 blocks of apartments, one being the existing locally listed element and another new apartment block. Mirrors the design and style of the original number 21 Salisbury Avenue property and is subservient, and 2 pairs of semi-detached new style houses to the rear. There were no major changes to the front street scene, facing elements from the last refused application, including the retention of proposed balconies. The main change comes in the removal of the flat roof floor dwelling block in favour of 2 pairs of semi-detached new style houses with accommodation in the roof space, which appears more agreeable and in keeping with the previous design. Keeping than the previous design. Parking provision remains at 11 spaces, which is insufficient for the quantity and size of properties proposed. Trees are to be removed as part of the proposal, but additional trees and soft landscape is proposed. So I say consider recommend refusal. The committee acknowledged that positive improvements have been made from the last refused application, but not enough to satisfy the committee's concerns in terms of proposed balconies integrated onto the Grade 2 listed building, the proposed new building number 23 at the front of the site, as keep with the buildings and character of the Department of Conservation area, and could cause a loss of amenity and privacy to existing and potential occupiers of the main properties and proposed new properties. Concern is also expressed with regard to the lack of sufficient parking provision provided against the accommodation provided within the application, and then the numerous policies that relate to that. So here you can.
Sorry, can I interject? Just before you move away from that slide, can I just point out that top picture there, that's Photoshopped. For the simple reason, if you look at the real situation, these trees don't exist.
The ones at the back.
Yeah, they've been photoshopped into that. You know, I know that's a drawing, but if that was a photo, to get these trees like that, you'd have to Photoshop the picture.
they don't exist.
They don't exist.
So this does say these are the proposed street scenes. So I think what they are suggesting is that that will be.
That's a big tree, big trees though.
Have a long wait for them to get that big.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is, depends on when it's proposed.
Okay, so that's the proposed street scene. So you can see the one at the top is the one sort of viewed from the rear of the site, and then one at the bottom is the front. And then this is what we had refused. So you've got the front street scene at the top on this occasion, and then at the back, this sort of kind of motel style flat roof
Warehouse
block of the thing.
It was a block.
It was a single, flat roof block, single, one.
That's kind of more fun.
And then this is the proposed locally listed element, which actually has not changed at all, and nor has the new apartment block. Those are mainly exactly the same. And then this here is the proposed new style houses they are suggesting. And this is the refused new style building seen from the rear. And this, you can sort of see the way that it's been designed, sort of shows the front and the rear. And then this is the proposed block view. You can see, so this is the rear of the property, and I think the objections have come from
Where your arrow is now.
have come from these particular.
You can see a lot of that foliage here along the back doesn't exist.
This here.
Yeah.
And what's that slide? Is that, well, yeah, I guess it's a drawing on that slide.
This is the refused block view. You can see.
Yeah.
So what's tricky is that the drawings are different. They're prepared differently this time for us to be able to accurately compare. And then this is the proposed landscaping plan, which I think does show these trees actually, Councillor Temple, just over here.
Well, I'm not.
Those to put in, and that concludes what I've put together.
And can you just go back, Heather, to go back to the rear elevation? you have these windows there in the first floor, looking onto the Rosebery Avenue. And of course, I presume they're not going to be frosted if they're bedroom windows.
No, there'll be bedrooms.
So these bedroom windows look directly into the back garden of the properties behind.
And they're very close to the boundary.
And on top of that, they're very close to the boundary.
In Mr. Thomas' letter, it says there is a 27-metre gap, which is,
There is,
which
but
needs to be, but it's disproportionate.
exactly.
Is that a valid point? I'm not
That's
sure.
that, yeah, it's disproportionate.
Is there sufficient amenity space for the new dwellings?
I would question that as well, because.
Because there's not a lot of space left on that
I
lot.
know, there's basically a footpath going, sort of in a cross around the outside, isn't there? That's it. Yes, I would question that. There's no garden or amenity space there at all, and that's for a significant number of dwellings.
Yeah.
I agree.
Which was flagging up.
Yeah.
It'll come up as
Well, no, but we consider applications afresh, and there's no reason why we can't.
No, it's not to say that we can't mention it on this occasion.
The rear block, I mean, I know they're split into two, but the gap between the two of them is minute. It's a small gap.
Yeah, because it actually this one, if you look at the original, the one we looked at a second ago, it looks like there's quite a significant gap between the two properties.
Yeah.
On this view, I think you'll be struggling to get a bicycle through between the two of them.
I mean, the fundamental remains that they're simply trying to fit too much into the space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I think if you just had the front two or the back two, obviously you have to demolish a locally listed building, but in principle, if you just had 2 out of 4 on that site, I think it would be
Probably work.
a very nice development.
Yes.
I just think personally, I don't speak for the committee until we have a vote, but I think it's an overdevelopment still on that site. I still think there's amenity concerns for the new and the proposed and the new properties that are proposed and for the neighbours. I think, are we satisfied with the number of trees that they're replacing as well? Because
I don't think there's a huge number of trees that are being removed, to be honest. I can double check.
We have the existing site plan, or is that anything there is proposed, or what was the last?
See, I might not have included this. You can see that there were an awful lot of drawings that came with it. This one.
The block is now 2 blocks. Small fixtures, is it?
yeah, so the one block is got there's a small gap between it, and then it's got these.
The windows in the roof.
Yeah, there's a little bit of the. I'm afraid it may be-
Yeah, that was a stump, the main stumbling block on the night was the look.
Yeah. So you can see you've got the gap there, and you've got the. Then the window. It's here, I think.
Oh, but isn't there something below here?
Yeah, so if you look here, I think this is someone's garden. That's this what looks like a road.
It's technically overlooking, is only from the first floor.
Yeah.
That appears to be the.
No, that's first floor,
That's first floor, okay.
I think.
Yeah.
I'm 99%
Right,
sure.
this is the existing, it's not overly clear, I
Yeah.
must admit, but you can see that there aren't a huge amount of trees
Yeah.
already on the site, because there is quite a lot here you can see, so we've got the, so this is the existing sort of kind of listed element.
Yeah.
And then we've got all of this at the back of the property already.
Yeah.
There, a flat sort of kind of, well, like lots of add-ons, I think,
Yeah.
over the years of sort of flat roofed elements. So there is
Is
quite a
it
clear.
amenity space?
No, that's like paving,
That's parking, isn't that parking?
Was parking
Yeah.
on
it's
the
like driveway.
driveway, yeah.
I mean, that's where the 11 spaces are, I
Yeah.
assume.
Amenity space comes in now.
Didn't I see something on that one, that the, even the rubbish bins, the refuse bins, technically they meet the requirements, but they're a bit on the small side.
A bit, yeah. So there's the officer, the refuse officer for St Albans has essentially said it's, you know, in a sense meets the requirements, but actually logistically will become very tricky.
Yes.
So there's no sort of provision for, you know, other recycling elements or.
Every property now has 5 bins. So,
Glass bin,
yes.
3 big bins.
Certainly now 5. So, that's therefore, I don't know how many properties there are, where you put all those, I don't know, there's a communal arrangement.
Well, there is a sort of a separate bin refuse building. They are proposing.
There was a very long reason by district council, wasn't it? Complicated one. Went to appeal in 2019, dismissed. That was number 4, was it? I assume it was.
Yeah.
No,
No,
I think that was number 3.
Was it?
Then go number 4.
Yeah. Number 4 just was flat refused at St Albans. Number 3 went to appeal and was dismissed.
But this is what I was saying earlier, from the letter of rejection, you can see what it backs onto.
So windows are actually
Yeah.
first floor.
Yeah.
Looking at the gardens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
27 metres.
Yeah, so that.
And in some ways, the windows now are worse than one of the earlier plans, where they were going to be sort of an angle, sort of to remember way back.
I'll be honest, many of the previous versions of this have blurred into one.
That's right. That's
memory.
You can put windows,
Yes,
you can put windows like that.
Well, that, one of the plans that they did have, that proposal did have, that's the window.
Instead of that, they're like that, so sideways.
It's a sort of proposal that actually really would be better to remove the new style houses and have another individual dwelling at the back, side on.
Yes,
Yeah,
Because-
although then you've got the gardens, the other.
Yeah, so they will
Almost
side
like-
on with the
yeah.
gardens to the left or right, whatever. So then there'd just be a flank wall.
Yeah.
That's- Yeah,
Almost
that's,
like the Jarvis development at the end of Salisbury Avenue and Roehampton. Then we've got 3 big blocks there.
Yeah. Thankfully, this is nearly finished. Right.
so the vote.
Yes, so I think, to be honest, I think the could cause a loss of amenity to existing and potential occupiers of neighbourhood properties, and the proposed new property probably covers off the point without there isn't that much amenity space.
Well, no, because there is the option. It's actually, so when we're saying loss of amenity, that's kind of like sort of general effect, but
Right.
actually there is a suggestion that you need to have certain outdoor amenity space for this number of properties, so i.e. grass and sort of kind of soft landscaping that's, yeah. So
Not
there is
bad.
the provision for me to add the, you know,
Yes.
amenity.
Yeah. So I think if we add language into that.
Yeah.
Does anyone else think there's anything missing from council farm?
well, I was just going to say, and I mean, talking about the amenity space for the actual proposed dwellings, could some wording be added on along the lines reflecting the fact that it is, you know, what is proposed remains an overdevelopment of the site.
Yeah, I think that would be.
And one of the other plans, this is an aside, just shows a lot of this as being sort of hard standing, sort of gravel.
Oh, yeah.
See, all that, I think that, I'm sure there's a plan I've seen that shows sort of beyond this sort of a gravel area without any plantings on it, a relatively narrow strip of plantings.
This one possibly?
That the one? Yeah, that's one of them.
Could be. This is the proposed landscape plan.
You see?
I mean, it's
I mean,
difficult to
that
see
looks
some
like,
regulations.
sort of,
Not grass, is it?
no.
Let's look at the actual. Let's look
It
at the
looks like
actual.
somebody's designed effectively a box-shaped development and dropped it down into a square.
Type of tree. Yeah, I mean, that's a very, if that is grass, so I think that's a hedge.
I think this sort of mottly colour is grass because we then move on to a different style of,
Still not professional.
no.
And I'd still question if that's enough for 9 properties.
Yes.
Given that it's not actually a garden, it's a bit of it's a bit of green space to the side of the property, but.
Can I put Heather on the spot? What are the positive improvements?
The positive improvements is to the new style buildings at the back,
Yeah.
But, you know, that was just purely my suggestion. We can quite happily take that out if you feel very strongly.
Yeah.
I mean, until we received these documents today to show actually the view that's coming from Salisbury, I can only take it from what was in front of me.
Yeah.
Really.
No, I mean, I think there is it's a marginal improvement. There is an improvement, and we should acknowledge that. Are we confident that the language in here is sufficient about the Muse buildings at the back and their potential to cause a loss of amenity?
Possibly not, no, because of, I think at this stage that I wrote this, I didn't have the site of this here to show that actually this is still causing a detrimental impact on the Salisbury Avenue property. Rosebery.
Well, certainly these windows, they overlook the back gardens.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
That is the main concern.
So if we can add some separate language about Muse, are they still called Muse buildings?
They are.
And also the gap between them, suppose that we split them into 2 units, in reality, that gap is so narrow it hardly exists, you can hardly see it.
Yeah. So, we remain concerned about some of the massing elements of that, and about the potential effects of overlooking and resultant loss of amenity on.
With all due respect, you don't want people from Rosebery Avenue looking into their windows as much as the other way round, really, do you?
Yeah. I think, so we've covered the Muse buildings, we've covered the lack of grass, or not lack of grass, lack of amenities space. Is there anything we would like to mention that's not covered either in the original wording or in the extra bit?
Is parking mentioned?
Yes.
Yeah, parking mentioned. I think that's everything.
Bearing in mind that my suggestion was sort of taken from the last application that we looked at.
Yeah.
That's really kind of proved that wording again.
Cool. Right. Okay, I think we're ready to go to the vote. But were you trying to say something? Sorry, I saw a hand wave in my. I saw a hand wave in my exterior vision, and I wasn't sure. Okay. In that case, with all those changes, are we minded towards the recommendation that we agree with refusal? All in favour?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's. Have you got everything?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Right. 5/2021, 2921 45 Park Avenue North. Your observations on this one?
Yeah. Let me just get to 41 Park Avenue. Okay. Cases want to demolish the existing dwelling and replace with a more substantial 6-bedroom property with accommodation in the roof. The footprint of the proposal is increasing substantially from the original, with large flank walls to sides with both neighbouring properties. Permission for more substantial property number 43 Park Avenue has been granted, which will reduce any impact on them should this be constructed. However, possible detrimental impact on number 47 still remains. The site is in the Huntingdon Conservation Area, but it's not locally listed. That survey has been carried out with no signs of a back roost present. Soft landscaping plan has been provided for the proposal. 9 trees are proposed for removal, however, only 6 trees are planned as replacements. Parking provision for 3 cars is proposed. Consider recommend refusal. Proposed replacement dwelling is an overdevelopment of the plot in terms of size and impact on neighbouring properties. In addition, an insufficient number of replacement trees for those to be removed is proposed to satisfy the 2-to-1 ratio required in the Huntingdon Neighbourhood Plan and various policies. Okay, so we can see here that we've got the proposed street scene, and it's this property here, which is going to be the new one. We've got the proposed street scene and then the existing street scene. Down here, you can see that this is the footprint of the existing property, which is sort of kind of much more, I suppose, slimmer, narrower property. And then this is the block plan of the proposed, which is a much more substantial property on the site and across the sort of footprints. These are the existing elevations, and then we've got the proposed elevations just underneath. I tried as best as I could to try and mirror the size so that you could see sort of kind of the impact, as it were. See that we're along the side, the flank walls, the side elevations, it's increasing quite substantially. These are the existing floor plans, so you can see quite a modest rectangular footprint replaced by this rather more sort of floor filling proposal, which is also going to a second story or into the roof.
You go back to the first one.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, that's it.
Right. Mr. Top is new, isn't it?
So the top is the proposed, yeah, and the house in question is this one that's down here. I think what kind of, in a sense, doesn't help matters is that this property here hasn't actually been built. It still remains like this at the moment, but it has got planning permission to become that.
What we do,
Councillor,
Yeah, can I ask about when we say size, are we talking about the bulk, or because the height doesn't actually look any higher than what's being given approval to the next door? I can see it's a massive increase in bulk and size. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
bulk and massing as opposed to just the, because I mean there's some big houses, you can see the side, but like I say, it's the way it goes back.
yeah,
That makes sense. That we're concerned about.
I mean, they're basically doubling the footprint of the property.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the massive depth
Yeah.
that should go back. And I'm not certain if in fact they are going to follow the 45-degree rule with the one on the right.
they look very close.
Looks off to
Because in a sense, the properties to the right, they are coming further away from the boundary than they currently are, but there is becoming a much bigger, bulkier footprint.
Yeah.
As long as you've got that reach out,
Yes,
Yeah.
you're okay.
Yes.
But it depends really on the setting, doesn't it?
yeah, I mean, the
Also-
bulk is really in terms of the actual design of the building, isn't it? Rather than in actual size terms, it doesn't look vastly different. It's the way it's designed that it just makes it look very bulky.
Yeah.
I think bulking is probably a good word to include, or massing.
Bulk and massing, yeah.
It's a bit more specific
In
with the
terms of
size.
bulk and massing, yeah, which probably should be size, bulk and massing.
Yeah.
I'm also very unsympathetic given the size of the plot, the fact they haven't at least equalled the number of trees they're taking out. If there was an attempt, then, one might perhaps be more sympathetic.
Give that a number, yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't take an argument that they couldn't physically put more in. Anyway, any further comments from councillors on this one? I can't see any. In that case, we mind to go with the recommendation with those tweaks that we've made. All in favour?
Yep, agreed, yeah.
Right, so agenda item 7 is appeals. So we've got an appeal at 1 Gilpin Green, which has been allowed.
Fence.
Pardon?
That's a
It
fence.
is, yeah.
It is, yeah.
Highway, well, yeah.
Yes, and we've got notification of an appeal at 84 Park Rise.
That was the one I called in.
Yeah.
I called in, if, well, the officers refused it, gone to appeal. I'll say no more because I'm still involved.
Cool. In that case, we're just noting those appeals. Item 8, preservation order for tree works, again, just for noting. Oh, actually, we haven't received any, so
No, there weren't any this time.
we can't note something we haven't had. Item 9, conservation area tree works and technical applications. Those are just for noting. Item 10, list of weekly St Albans District Council decisions, again, just for noting. The next meeting of this planning committee will be held on Tuesday, the 23rd of November at 7:30 p.m. And the next Plans North meeting is being held on Monday, the 8th of November at 7 p.m, presumably in person.
To my knowledge.
Cool. And at that, I will bring this meeting to a close at what I make to be 9:11, unless my clock hasn't been reset after the clock change.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you, councillor Farmer.
thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
So you go home.
Okay. Cheers.
Right, good. That's fine.
Yes, Rosemary can go straight for the kettle now, can
Well, it does appear that the rate of incidence is going up around here. COVID.
Well, that's bound to be
be the case with the general trend of the number.